Hey everyone, Stacks here, checking out Excalibur #1 by Tini Howard, art by Marcus Toe, and colors by, I had it wrong in my preview, colors actually by Eric Arcenega. Anyways guys, this is a 38-page book, so I'm going to try to get into it pretty quick, and I gotta tell you, I was pleasantly surprised by this book. The ultimate measure of a book is if you're interested enough to pick up #2, and I feel like I definitely am on this one. Jumping in, the book starts on a white page, but this white page is really interesting because it states that the day that Charles Xavier sent out his world-changing message to everybody in the world saying, look, things have changed, here's what the mutants are willing to offer, and proclaiming Krakoan sovereignty. That same day, several of the world's most powerful magic users also received transmissions from Apocalypse, introducing himself and basically proclaiming their place in this new world. Most notably here is basically his claim that, look, magic is not a, people depend so much on science now that magic has been forgotten, but magic is in fact the domain of the superior, and no longer are we going to believe that, you know, we're going to take a back seat to science and technology. Instead, our power is absolute, and it is the domain, magic that is the domain of the superior. And with that, we find ourselves in the Otherworld, and we have Camelot that is under siege. And with Arthur missing, you have Morgan Le Fay assuming the role of Queen Regent. And despite having this big battle going outside, with the castle walls being struck with from catapults and everything else, she marches him down to a reflecting pool or a well inside the castle and asks him, what are these? As he gets down to inspect and see what they are, she takes his head and plunges it in the water, and as he drowns, it backs away, and you realize that it's the Krakoan leaves and the flowers. From there we jump to the Braddock Academy in England, where Betsy is saying goodbye to her brother. And there's not really a lot to the conversation other than them establishing that these two are on really good terms and that their brother Jamie is not really on good terms with them. And it kind of establishes that Betsy's probably going to be a little bit more forgiving for his previous misdeeds than Brian is. But once she finishes her goodbyes, she goes through the portal and she's immediately greeted with, hey, it's Betsy, hey, it's Psylocke. And she's like, I would rather just be called Betsy for now. So from there we shift over to Apocalypse, and Apocalypse is working with Trinary, and they've been investigating a portal that has shown up on Krakoa that they can't open to the other side. But Trinary's given Apocalypse the rundown, basically saying that Cypher and Sage, they tried running all the diagnostics for hours and they couldn't get anything on this thing. And Apocalypse comes back and says, well, that is the trouble, your science. Some things are not diagnosed, they are discovered. Apocalypse goes on to say that, look, this portal, it doesn't go anywhere on this plane. With gates opening all over the world, did you limit your expectations to this realm, to this reality? Are you familiar with the Otherworld, the Kingdom of Camelot? Then in a little bit more troubling soliloquy, he goes into, you know, men walked on the moon, but now mutants build homes there. In what other realms could we build homes? And what would it cost? And that last question kind of sent chills up my spine, because it's like, what is Apocalypse going to do here? What does he have in store for the X-Men going forward? I guess more accurately, what does he have in store for mutantkind? Finally, it's at this point that Apocalypse tries to breach the wall, and it doesn't work, and that's when he realizes they're going to need a champion to breach it. And it seems really obvious that he has someone in mind. From there we go to a white page that I'll talk about at the end, but we end up jumping to Fairgreen Hall in the moors in North Yorkshire. Don't ask me where it is, it's just in Britain somewhere. And what you have here is a group trying to ward off the ghost, which ends up being the herald of Morgan Le Fay. And what she does is comes through and she basically tells these cats that I'm going to withhold anyone that receives their magic from Avalon. I am going to hold back that power. I'm going to hold back that magic until this mutant portal is eliminated. Now, I'm not trying to be nitpicky here, but she comes to these magicians, she says she's going to withhold the magic, and then she sends them on their way to go hunt mutants. So something doesn't add up there. I mean, it seems like I want my magicians at full power when I send them to go hunt Cyclops and Wolverine and Jean Grey. Back on Krakoa, things are getting a little bit uncomfortable because Betsy Braddock runs into Quanon, and it's like, oh, we're not going to make eye contact. Just look the other way. We also run into Jubilee for the first time, but before Betsy can go off with her, she's interrupted by Goldballs, who now wants to be called Egg. And the reason that Egg is looking for Betsy is because they're having problems with Jamie Braddock. Well, to make a long story short, he's being a jerk just like he's always a jerk. And Salak ends up actually putting him in place. And after she's done handling Jamie, she goes and storms out. She runs into Apocalypse. And Apocalypse explains that there was a Krakoan gateway that's opened up. It opened up to them rather than opening up to the other world. So it's not one that they created necessarily. And he's asking for her brother Brian's assistance in traveling to the other side and seeing what's going on with it. And with that, she travels back through a Krakoan portal and is back in England and talking to Captain Britain again, telling him, hey, look, something's going on. There's something wrong with the Otherworld, and we think you're maybe walking into a trap. And what is in it actually a pretty cool brother-sister moment, she ends up, he's trying to rib on her a little bit, saying, what, oh, you found out this was happening while you were having Mai Tais with Magneto? And we get a look into Betsy's character here, and she tells him, look, knock it off. I'm serious. I have nothing to celebrate. I don't need to party. I don't want to spend the evening dodging the woman whose body I stole and did horrible things while wearing her skin. You're the one here with things worth living for and things worth dying for. So why don't you just share those with your sister for a little bit? And Brian smiles. He said, if you think I'm walking into a trap and you truly still want to fight beside me, then there's nothing more noble than that, and I'd be honored to have you. Then as they both kneel and drop a for Avalon, and they jump over to the Otherworld. And when they pop on the other side, they are immediately met by Morgan Le Fay, who immediately grabs Captain Britain and tells him, look, as the defender of Britain and the Otherworld, you should be my most loyal subject, right? So you would serve Arthur's command if you were called upon. Well, I called you here because of this. And he shows him the pool. And then she says, I want you to begin the hunt for the witch breed who have polluted my waters. And both Captain Britain and Betsy are like, witch breed? And which kind of made me think of like if you had a racist uncle who'd say things that you're like, really dude, you can't say that. But then she makes it very clear she's talking about mutants when she says, I didn't expect you to start with your own sister, but so be it. Drown her in the waters her people have choked with their filth. From there, things pick up quite a bit. Rogue and Gambit are out for a midnight stroll doing the, walk down Lover's Lane, and Trinary comes and finds him and says, look, Apocalypse needs you. And specifically what he needs Rogue to dampen the powers of whatever is causing the portal to block them. Apocalypse also summons Jubilee being the last one that spoke to Betsy from the island before she left, so that he can use her interaction previously with her as some kind of anchor. But before we find out what Apocalypse is really up to, it jumps back to Captain Britain and Betsy, and they are in a fight for their lives against Morgan Le Fay. And this dialogue here from Morgan is absolutely just roasting Captain Britain and mostly Betsy. But as this fight goes on, Morgan Le Fay is able to reach out and control Captain Britain. And when she takes over, he goes after Betsy. He's fighting it, he's trying to fight it, he's apologizing as he's doing it, but he can't help but go after her. But it's in that moment, using the memories from Jubilee, that earlier conversation, that Apocalypse is able to locate Betsy right at that moment. And as soon as Apocalypse locates her, he tells Rogue to dampen the power for the portal. She does that, and he's able to speak through it and say, look, if you hit this thing with a big blast of psychic energy, it will bust. And that's when she chucks the sword right into the portal. Now, when this happens, it absolutely blows Rogue back. With all that energy just smashes through her. And she's laying down there. They're all proud because the gate shattered. But Rogue is saying, look, don't come too close. I feel strange. And then in that moment, suddenly Krakoa reaches up and grabs her and starts embracing her in basically a cocoon of some kind. Like, once it embraced her, it basically put her to sleep or in some kind of coma. Back in the other world, Betsy is kind of between a rock and a hard place. Now that the portal's broken, she doesn't have an evac route. That is until she manages basically to pickpocket the amulet from Captain Britain. And in this moment, he's sitting there saying, you know, take the trinket. My lady is more than enough. Take it and be gone. And then you can see it in his eyes. Please. He's begging her, leave. I don't want to hurt you. And she does. She puts it on and then poof, she's gone. Then back to Krakoa. Gambit is ticked. He does not know what's happening with Rogue. None of them do. But right as Gambit is losing his cool, suddenly Betsy comes through the other side. And when they turn, and honestly, Apocalypse does the best introduction. As they're all saying, Miss Braddock, Betsy, Psylocke, he says, all incorrect. You stand in the presence of a hero of legend. Hail, Captain Britain. And of course, her first question is, what happened to Rogue? From there, we get what's labeled as the epilogue, where the woman that was there when Morgan Le Fay came through to England earlier and basically tasked her with hunting mutants, she is descending down into what we find out is the Coven of Aqaba. So that could be really interesting, diving into the past of Apocalypse, and I hope we do get that in this series. Alright, so I did skip one white page, so I'm going to go over it. It's talking about basically the paradigm of magic and the occult paradigm of as above, so below. And how it says that the energy from opening the Krakoan portals changed that to so below, as above. So visually, it was previously a circle. You could say as below is above. But now it's saying if you take both of these, since the paradigm has shifted, and you put them at a 90-degree angle, you have basically what looks like an X. As above and as above would be opposite, and so below and so below would be opposite. So you have this X. Now why, for whatever reason, that links to the Homo superior gene and what it means going forward as far as magic ties to things, I don't really understand, honestly. I didn't really get this page. I would love some more information in the comments if you have it. The coded message this time was "See the Great Flame Blazing." So I'm interested to see what that is all about. And we have X-Force and Fallen Angels next week. And based off the creative teams, I think both of those titles have the potential to be outstanding. As far as my review for Excalibur #1, when I finished the book, the biggest compliment I can give is that I was looking forward to #2. That I was interested, I was drawn in by the storyline. I really think they have some characters in place like Gambit and whatever's going on with Rogue that they can explore. I'm not really familiar with the previous Excalibur books, so looking into Camelot and Otherworld is going to be interesting for me. Any issues I had with the dialogue were well overshadowed by the fact that I was really enjoying the storyline and where it's going. Overall, it's an enjoyable read. I enjoyed it. It had enough action. It had enough development of future plot lines. I'm interested. I'm hooked. I'm going to be picking it up. I thought the art was really good on this. I really liked that opening scene of the castle. You actually look down the bridgeway there and you can see the battering ram and stuff with the catapults, and it was actually really cool. So walking away from this, definitely a recommend. I'm definitely going to be picking up #2. And one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to apologize for the lack of content lately. I started a new job and it has been eating up a lot of time, a lot of extra time, a lot of late hours at the office. My wife is a saint and she takes a brunt of that stuff. Every time I start a new job or get promoted, it's always the first 90 days or at least are just, I'm the type that goes in and tries to do the absolute best job I can and learn what I'm doing. So pretty high stress level right now. So I do apologize for the lack of content. It's been come home, get home late from work, eat, play with the kids for a little bit, and pass out. I sat down to read with Halfstacks the other night, and he was reading to me. We make him read. And I absolutely just passed out. And he just didn't even cut the lights off or anything. He just took off and left me there on the bed, passed out. Anyways, guys, I say all that to say that I plan on getting some more content out this week. I have Silver Surfer Black that I picked up that I'm going to do a review on. And I may do the Red Goblin, the new book, Red Death. And possibly, if I have time, the first 2 books of King Thor, because in all honesty, it's been really good in my opinion. Let me know which new book you want to see first, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. That way you actually get notified when a new video comes out. Leave a like and comment, of course. Everything you do to interact with this channel helps its growth. I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to watch. And guys, that's all I got. Real Comic Stacks, out.